You stand in the dimly lit arena, the air thick with the scent of sweat, blood, and the lingering echoes of death. The crowd's roar deafens you, a tidal wave of cruel anticipation. Your pulse quickens, each heartbeat a drum of fear. Your eyes are fixed on the sand beneath your feet, once golden, now stained crimson with the lifeblood of those who fought before you. But you are not here to fight. They march you out, shackled and trembling. Around you, the gladiators, savage, hardened men, stand ready to spill blood in the name of sport. They've fought their battles. Now it's your turn, though you are not here by choice. You've been taken, stolen from your home, torn from your family, your identity erased in the shadow of the Empire's power. The crowd's jeers grow louder as they look at you, their faces a blur of malice. You are not their equal, not their gladiator. You are merely a trophy, a prize to be discarded when the show is over. You are a woman, a prisoner, and the Empire's grip tightens around you with every breath you take. You know this arena is not for you to survive, it is for you to break. Your fate is sealed, but you are not the only one. You are among the countless women who were taken as spoils of war, plucked from their homes in distant lands and brought to Rome to satisfy the bloodlust of its rulers. These were not the women you read about in the annals of history, mothers, daughters, and wives, who built the foundation of a great empire. No, you were the forgotten, the expendable, the ones left behind in the dust of conquest. You were caught in a brutal game of politics and power. The Roman Empire, the greatest civilization known to man, thrived on conquest, growing larger and more powerful with each fallen kingdom. But with expansion came destruction. The spoils of war were not just riches and territory, but bodies, human beings taken as slaves. Men to fight in gladiatorial combat, women to serve as prizes, to satisfy the darkest desires of the empire's elite. And yet their fate was more than mere servitude. The Romans, in their brutality, had a cruel, twisted use for women like you. You learned that some women were forced into the gladiator pits, not as combatants, but as prey. The gladiators were not just warriors. They were also the empire's tools of control, men whose power was measured by the blood they spilled, the lives they took. But it wasn't always enough to kill in the name of entertainment. Some prisoners were taken not for execution, but for what the Romans called humiliation, a twisted form of spectacle. The arena was your prison and the gladiators your tormentors. The brutality of the battle was not the most horrific thing about it. No, what they did to you, what they did to all women like you, was far worse. The Roman Empire, vast and all-consuming, was not just built on military might and architectural marvels. It was built on an unrelenting demand for power, and that power required the subjugation of countless peoples. Among the captives, women suffered in silence. Many were forced into prostitution or became slaves to wealthy Romans who wanted to bend them to their will. But the gladiatorial games, with their savage cruelty, provided a different kind of torment for women. Unlike their male counterparts, who fought for their lives in the arena to earn fame or a chance at freedom, the women taken as prisoners faced a far darker fate. Their bodies were objectified, commodified, and subjected to the whims of their captors. Women were sometimes forced to perform in front of crowds, not for sport, but for the satisfaction of the Roman elite. Some were brutalized before the crowds, their dignity torn away in the name of entertainment. The games themselves were only part of the horror behind the scenes. In the shadows of the arena, women were forced into a system of sexual slavery, their bodies no longer their own. Gladiators themselves were complicit in these horrors. Some of the most famous fighters in Rome were known to use their fame to gain sexual favors, taking the women they fought for as their own. The empire in all its grandeur had a dark and twisted underbelly. Gladiators were not just warriors. They were also the instruments of power's most intimate and degrading acts. The Romans built their empire on blood, and they would stop at nothing to maintain control. Women, the forgotten victims, paid the highest price. You stand in the arena, the roar of the crowd deafening your senses. Your body aches, the weight of the chains heavy against your skin. The gladiators approach, their eyes filled with hunger. But it's not just bloodlust that drives them. It's the knowledge that after the blood has been spilled, there is another kind of power. The power to take what is left, what has already been destroyed. In the silence between the roars, you feel it, a darkness rising. You realize in that moment that survival is not your goal. You are a pawn in a greater game, a game where men hold power, and women are the price of victory. You are not here for glory, not here for honor. You are here because the empire demands it. You are here because men like these and the empire that birthed them will use your body, your very existence, to fuel their insatiable thirst for control. But even as they approach, something stirs within you. There is no fight to be won here, no escape to be had. Yet, deep within your heart, you will not break. Not today, not here. You will carry the weight of this moment of your people's blood in your soul. Even if your body falls, your spirit will remain. And when they take you, when they use you, remember this. You are more than their victim. You were more than the blood they spilled. You were a woman and you had your fight even if no one saw it.
History has forgotten you.
As it has forgotten countless women who suffered in silence at the hands of Rome. But in the shadows of the empire's grand story, there remains a truth that can never be erased. These women were not just victims. They were the forgotten voices of a brutal empire. The ones who were taken, the ones who endured. They did not die in vain. Their suffering, their strength, remains a testament to the forgotten side of Rome's brutal games. A story of survival, of strength in the face of unimaginable horrors, of voices that history has silenced, but whose echoes refuse to fade. The clang of chains echoes in the stillness of the darkened cell. You sit against the cold stone wall, your breath ragged, your body battered from the brutal journey that brought you here. The gladiators, once warriors, have become your captors. Their faces are scarred with battle, their bodies hardened by years of violence. But now they are nothing but shadows in your prison. It is not the fight that terrifies you. It is what awaits after. The arena is where the blood flows freely, where men are hailed as heroes, and women like you are merely forgotten. But behind the curtain of spectacle lies a much darker truth. The games are not just a display of might. They are a cruel reminder of the empire's unyielding power, a power that spills not just blood, but the dignity of those who cannot fight back. The Roman Empire thrived on the strength of its legions, the might of its emperors, and the terror it instilled in its subjects. But beneath the surface of this colossal empire, there was another kind of cruelty, a cruelty that came from the power to degrade, to control the very bodies of the defeated. This was not just a war for land and wealth. It was a war for human life. You were not the first woman to suffer in this way. The empire's brutal treatment of women, particularly prisoners, was systematic. As the Roman legions swept across the known world, they plundered villages, looted cities, and captured entire populations. Among the spoils were the women, those deemed to have worth in the imperial system. But for those who were taken as prisoners, there was no salvation. Some were sent to the gladiator pits not to fight, but to be subjected to the worst of Rome's sadistic pleasures. You were not the only woman forced to endure such horrors. There were others, hundreds, perhaps thousands, who were taken from their families and thrust into this world of terror. The gladiators were not just combatants. They were the enforcers of Roman cruelty, and for many it was a grim fate. Women were their playthings, their victims, and the empire, built on the backs of these warriors, turned a blind eye to the atrocities committed in the shadows. The line between the victor and the victim blurred in the dirt of the arena. Though history may forget you, your story will be remembered in the hearts of those who refuse to ignore the truth. The horrors of the Roman Empire were many, but in the faces of its victims, its women, its prisoners, there is strength. And that strength, that defiance will survive, even when the empire falls and the sands of time bury all that was once great. As the years pass, the empire that created this world of torment will crumble under its own weight. Rome, once unstoppable, will fall. Its glory, its power will fade into the dust. But the women it used, the women it enslaved, will live on, not in the pages of history, but in the memory of those who know the truth. You were one of the forgotten, one of the victims whose pain went unnoticed by the empire that destroyed you. But your story does not end here. The echo of your suffering, of your strength, lives on through the whispers of history, through the voices that refuse to let the past be erased. You are not forgotten. You will never be forgotten.